Hi, my name is Stacey Bradshaw, and I am so privileged to be sharing my testimony with you today for acting on faith. My journey truly has been a journey of faith and of just trusting the Lord to open all the right doors and provide in His timing. And the biggest thing I want to share with you today is just the importance of trusting God and His timing and His ability to open doors that you wouldn't have even have dreamed possible, because that's what He did for me. So, a lot of actors have to spend years working their way up through the ranks, from background extra to a small speaking role to a supporting role until they can finally work their way up to a leading role. Well, for me, I kind of skipped all that stuff in the middle. God took me straight from being a background extra to a leading role in a feature film. And that just blows my mind to this day. And it's just one of my favorite parts of my testimony to share, because it just illustrates how God can open any door that He wants to. So let me back up a little bit. I knew from the age of 11 or 12 that I wanted to be an actress. Or at least that's when the journey kind of really started, because that's when I fell in love with Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, the king of the cowboys and the queen of the West. And if you don't know who they are, you should go look them up, because they are my heroes. They starred in many Western films back in the 1940s and 50s, and they were role models for generations of children. And they were role models for me, definitely, as I was growing up. And they were such a wonderful example of how to live out your faith as actors and filmmakers. And they truly honored the Lord in their personal life and their public life. And it was just really inspiring to me, and I really wanted to follow in their footsteps. And I loved all the old movies. Well, not all of them, but I loved all the good old movies from the 40s and 50s. And that's really what inspired me to want to become an actress and a filmmaker. And so it's, but I really didn't believe it was possible. Like, I knew that I wanted to do that, but back then there weren't really Christians out there making movies. So I didn't know how I was going to be able to do that. I was not going to move to Hollywood and go that route. I just knew that wasn't for me. So it was a really long journey before I even got to do any acting at all, actually. And I started doing theater when I was 16 or 17. And so, that was kind of a big gap in there before I finally got to test the waters and see, can I do this? Am I really going to enjoy this? And I did. I loved it. And I majored in theater. I went to college, to Bryan College in Dayton, Tennessee, majored in theater, and took some film classes while I was there. And it was around that time that Vision Forum started their Christian Film Festival down in Texas. And that was really encouraging to me, because finally I was like, oh, there's a new movement of Christians making movies. So maybe it is possible for me to get involved with this and to be a part of that. And so it was really exciting. But, it was a long time, from 12 to 22. It was a decade of wondering, is this even possible? And so after I graduated college, I went to Advent Film Group's workshop and met George Escobar. And through that connection, I was able to be a props PA and work on crew, kind of the bottom of the rung job on that film set for 2 different feature films later that year in 2010. And but I kept sending out auditions, because I knew what I really wanted to do was acting. So I kept sending out self-taped auditions for Christian films, and there weren't a whole lot being made, or at least that I was hearing of, during that time. And I really grew discouraged over the next couple of years, because I kept auditioning and I was never being cast in anything. So I did some background extra jobs, but I wasn't getting any speaking roles. And honestly, by 2012, I was getting to the point where I was about ready to give up. I was just getting so discouraged and thinking, well, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this isn't what God wants me to do. And maybe I don't have what it takes to be a film actress. And so I was really getting discouraged. And that summer of 2012, I got cast in not one, but 2 leading roles. The first one was a 45-minute film up in Michigan called The Wednesday Morning Breakfast Club. And the month after that, I was cast in the leading role in Touched by Grace, which was a feature film shot here in Virginia. And that has gone on to screen all over the world. And to this day, I still get messages from people in many different countries who've seen it and been impacted by its message. It's an anti-bullying film about a girl with Down syndrome. And it was such a special film to be a part of. But that was just incredible to see how God took me from, doing crew work and being a background extra to two leading roles back to back with nothing else in between. And it was just so amazing and just so encouraging to me at that point in my life when I was ready to give up. And since then, it's just been amazing to see how God has, everything is so connected, from that workshop that I went to with George Escobar and the connections that I made through the films that I worked crew on after that. And just one thing just led to another, and it's just all connected. It's just so neat to see how that happens and how God works. And the other really big thing from my journey that I want to share with you was from 2018. I got an email. Now, at this point, I'd done about 35, I think a little over 35 films. And I didn't have an agent. I was self-represented. Like, God was my agent for those 6 years of just sending out submissions and getting booked on films. And I got an email in January of 2018 that invited me to audition for this pro-life feature film, and it was going to be directed by the producers of God's Not Dead. And I was like, hold on, this has got to be a prank or something. Like, there's no way these people know who I am, and they're reaching out to me and inviting me to audition for their film. There's no way. And I Googled all their names, looked them up on IMDb, and I was like, you know what? I better treat this like it's serious and just see what happens. And sure enough, it was totally legitimate. And I got to act in the movie Unplanned. I'm sure many of you have heard of that. It's an amazing true story of Abby Johnson, who went from being Planned Parenthood Director of the Year to being an amazing crusader for life. And I got to be a part of that film, and that film has screened all over the world. It has saved so many babies since it was, even before it was released, just pre-screenings. There were mothers that came to see it who were pregnant and were considering abortion. They decided to keep their babies. And so many lives have been saved and impacted through this film, just, in the not even a year that it's been out. And it's just, oh my goodness, it's been such a blessing to me. And it was so incredible to be a part of that. And so, yeah, that was just another example of how something that I thought would be totally impossible, God made it possible. And so I just want to encourage you to pursue whatever the Lord is laying on your heart, if that's acting or filmmaking or something else entirely. If God's calling you to do it, I love what my friend Maggie Jenny said in her Acting on Faith testimony. If God guides, where God guides, God provides. Well, she said it better than that. But anyway, if God guides you to do something, He will provide the way for you to do that, even if it seems impossible. So follow what God is calling you to do. It has just been so incredible. Acting, filmmaking, it's a really hard industry. And it's been an incredible journey for me, but it's been hard at times. There are times of discouragement and times where you feel like you're just getting a lot of no's and a lot of rejection. And you just have to keep putting yourself out there and keep going, and just trusting God will open the doors that He wants to be open. You have to do the work too. You have to make yourself ready and available for God to use you. But if He wants to use you, He will. So you just have to trust in His timing and trust in His leading. And, I've done 45 films, I think, since 2012. So that's just been incredible and amazing, and God's opened a lot of doors. But there have been times, like there was a 2-year period where I think I did 3 films in 2 years, and God just wasn't opening the doors. But also my health was really suffering at that time, and God knew that I couldn't handle a whole lot, because filmmaking and acting is very strenuous, and so He knew I needed some downtime. So I kept auditioning, and He kept saying, no, you just need to take a break and just rest and recover and get your health back right now. So He knows what we need, and He knows what we can handle. And if we're doing this for His glory, we should only want to be doing what He wants us to be doing, so just trust him, let him guide and lead and rule in that process, So I hope this has been encouraging to you. It's definitely been a wonderful journey of just trusting the Lord, waiting with excitement and anticipation to see what doors he's going to open next, and just walking through them with confidence and faith, knowing that he brought me here and I can do this, and I get to do what I love for the glory of my Creator. And that's just such a beautiful thing. So again, I hope this has been encouraging. If it has, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me through my social media sites or through my website. And I got some exciting things cooking. I'm following my childhood dream right now of writing a Western film in the style of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and the Westerns that they used to make. So if you'd like to follow along that journey, stay tuned, because hopefully there'll be some exciting announcements coming this year, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how God provides in that way. But I'm really excited that I might be able to fulfill my childhood dream of making and acting in a Western that pays tribute to them, which is what I've wanted to do since I was a little girl. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what God has next, and I pray that you'll be blessed in your journey as well.
Hello, fellow Kingdom artists. This is Della Salla, co-star in The Green Zone with Matt Damon, co-star in A Christmas Blessing on TV One every holiday season with Omari Hardwick, and co-star to Chris Martini and Max Martini in the upcoming war genre film Trooper. I had a recent conflict/challenge come my way in the area of press. And though I've dealt with press, journalists, reporters in the media throughout my career, I've got over a 30-year career. In the last 15 years, it's been kind of high focus on film and television. So a part of the grind, if you will, a part of the animal that is film and TV industry related is media. Having to do media within the secular environments. And, you're going to make movies that hopefully will be kingdom bound, but sometimes you're going to be in films that, let's say on the secular end, work for you and they match at least your principles and ethics as a Christian. So you're going to be able to do them. And then that means you're going to be in a press junket with, let's just say, secular media types. I've never really experienced something like I want to share with you all, and hopefully enlighten and inspire. Long story short, I had been given the green light and a promise from one of these secular media types to do a feature in a major Hollywood magazine that would showcase my upcoming screening of a film of mine that I military advised and co-starred in called Trooper. It's a very successful indie. We've won a lot of awards. We stream on Amazon right now. I kept getting put on a back burner. And with the kind of incoming pressure of the film screening, I kept calling out this journalist who, offered me the feature. After the third time of doing that, saying, hey, we need the press, we were supposed to do this 3 months ago, yada yada, what's up? I got a very, very vicious response, let's just say, and from that negativity, that abrasiveness, that attack, really, I just said, okay, you know what, this is not worth pursuing anymore, nor is it worth getting into a conflict. So gracefully, off of instant messaging on Facebook, I discontinued the relationship and gave it up to God. With that rejection, if you will, decided to turn to Facebook and try and assault my character, post these very false things about me. And I had not known until a day later when my agent called, what happened? What did you do? And I had to defend myself here. And I was like, oh, wow, here we go. And I never experienced this really. in my life. So this was new to me. What was not new to me was prayer. And more importantly, how I said, God, before this gets really expensive to defend my integrity vis-a-vis lawyering up and all that other jazz, can you please take over? It was a simple kind of sit down with myself after a long conversation with my agent. She had believed me. She was in my corner. She never, ever, doubted my integrity and my character in the industry. So I gave it up to God. I still pursued what I might have to do legally by talking to some counselors who are litigating this area. But at the end of the day, I kept saying to God, Lord, I'm sure this is a challenge from you. Just help me to live up to what you're asking of me, what you're hoping to come from this out of me as a believer. The vulgar attacks on me, assaults, all from just my wanting to sign off and not be involved with her anymore. And it really was a gracious, initially, good luck to you. I think we're done. I wish you the best. And it really was that. Thumbs up emoji. And all of this transpired. Once we submitted this info, again, wisdom from the Spirit, in acknowledging to her employer, hey, this is what's going on. She's done it to an agent of mine. She's done it to me. She did it to another individual. And all because not only was I not looking to go any further, but then I found out, as she had tried to with me, bill me for the coverage. The only time you are to pay a fee to anyone in this industry for copy is if you have a publicist within your advantages to pursue media and publicity. Then and only then do they have the rightful degree to ask for compensation. That is their job, and you're hiring them to do that. The magazine that she writes for came to my defense, and all of this was answered prayer, and I was so thankful. So I really want to share this with y'all because I think it's important to just keep it in mind that we as actors, Christian actors, we are certainly targets. You can't expect rationale to come from secular Hollywood. So God kind of made all the things come together. He brought all the pieces together. And in the end, posts that she had put up were taken down. No lawyers had to be pursued at this point. And the story on me, per the CEO and the editor of the magazine, is going to be rewritten. So let it be an inspirational testimony, brothers and sisters. Turn to God in your struggles. Turn to God at that 11th hour where you just need Him to be the deliverer. And that's my testimony of faith. We have the mightiest agent in the world.
Well, hello, I'm Roy Lewis Garton, and I've been asked by Kevin to do a little talk for you on his series Acting on Faith, which I'm just so honored to do. A lot of my good friends have already done some testimonials on this series, including my good friend Dean Philippi, who was my best man at my wedding, and he did such a great job. It's such a beautiful day here in Cookeville, Tennessee. This is our new home now. We've lived here for about 2.5 years. I am from Florida originally for the past 17.5 years. But to get started on my acting, well, everybody likes to know, tell us a little bit about your acting. Well, I started in acting way back in the mid-1960s. I'm aging myself, what can I say? It was called The Monroes. It starred a very young Barbara Hershey. She was 16 at the time, and it premiered on the ABC television network. It only lasted one season, but my mother babysitted the youngest actress there. Her name was Tammy Locke, and I'm still friends with her today. She was known as Amy Monroe on that show. And they said they needed some extras, they needed some kids, and she recommended me, and I got a little extra spot on an episode called The Rite of Terror. And that's how I got started in acting. From there, when I was a little older, I got on Then Came Bronson with Michael Parks. From there, there was a little hiatus, and then I premiered in The Homecoming, which was the pilot for a great show called The Waltons. And, in a way, that's kind of like one of the early faith-based films, The Homecoming, because it actually dealt with faith, about believing that somebody is coming home in a major storm. From there, I guess probably the next biggest thing that I did was, which got me my first kind of speaking lines, was Clint Eastwood's film Any Which Way You Can, about the orangutan. It was the second sequel, and half of that was filmed in Jackson Hole. And I would start out as an extra, and then they need somebody for some lines and in a group shot, and they kind of selected me, and I said sure, and that actually gave me my Screen Actors Guild eligibility, was doing that. I did The Mountain Men with Charlton Heston and Brian Keith, worked with them. Of course, we all know Charlton Heston, Moses, and another great faith-based film that he was very famous for, Parting of the Red Sea. I did another television series called Dream West with Richard Chamberlain. I was a mountain man in that. Let's talk about recently. I took a break from acting because my degree's in broadcast journalism, and I went back into television. I worked at several television stations as a news journalist. Moved to Oklahoma and did a little production behind the scenes stuff. I got hired as a PA for the film Twister, which was shot in Oklahoma, and Helen Hunt, and did some work up there in Wichita, Oklahoma, which that really did happen in Wichita. They did shoot it on location there, and that's where I was working for a while. And then I went to work for Oral Roberts University for their new startup satellite station that they had, and the Golden Eagle Broadcasting Network. And so I worked there, and then I worked for another television station there, the ABC affiliate, KTUL, and then moved to Florida. And that is where I got back into acting again. I made some independent short films through our church, Calvary Chapel. I did some acting for them. We did a lot of faith-based film. Recently, I did Discovery ID, and I'm still doing some stuff here and there, so geez. And then also, I have my own company here called FDMC Digital Media, and I do independent films as well as business videos and social media platforms and things like that. Let's talk about faith-based films. They've been around a long time, but they never really known or called them faith-based films. They were just great films, huge mega pictures done by the big studios, and that was cool, but we don't really think about them as faith-based films. We just think about them as films. Stories about our Lord Jesus Christ and about having faith. And they're great films, but King of Kings is another one, but they just don't really consider them faith-based films. Kind of the catchphrase "faith-based" I think came around when we saw Touched by an Angel, Little House on the Prairie, Father Murphy. Those were shows, Highway to Heaven, that kind of dealt a lot with faith-based, because they weren't ashamed to mention things like prayer and believing in God and having faith and thinking things are going to happen. Roma Downey with Touched by an Angel, of course, she's went on to make a lot of stuff lately, and Touched by an Angel, I think, really kind of brought out, the idea of having faith-based films, and it's just amazing. Got some scriptures here I want to share with you. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." And that is so true. You get on a plan, you get on you look at your mountain that you want to climb, and you say, what can I do to better myself? And whether you're on set or whether you're talking in everyday life, you are a person. Leave your egos at home. As actors and actresses, that's what I do. I'm nobody famous. I love the craft. I love that I'm able to do what I do. But, I'm Roy, whether I'm walking down the streets or I'm on set. I'm there to lend an ear for people who are having issues and problems. And we all know on movie sets, you're kind of in the minority sometimes. It's great to surround yourself by friends, but sometimes if you're doing a mainstream shoot, you see things going on, and that's where you can take your faith and say, God has gotten me through this, or God's got me through that. How can I help you? Can I pray for you? I kind of coasted along there with that kind of idea, but my real first involvement in a faith-based film was when I moved to Oklahoma. I went to Church on the Move, and the pastor of the church, Willie George, I called him a guy, and he is kind of a guy, he's just a good old boy. He had the Gospel Bill show, but he also produced some full-length features with Bill Gunner. And Kenneth Copeland was his co-star in several of those films, and I worked on a couple of those. That's where you really got to see faith-based films in action. The whole cast and crew, they prayed before a shoot. They prayed during breaks, and you could just see the uplifting. And sometimes they brought on stunt people and stuff that they weren't Christian. You got a chance to witness to them, and that's really my first work with doing faith-based films. And if you haven't seen any of those, dig them out. There you have great things where you can witness your chance to be a part of something. Some other scriptures I want to share with you is Mark 16:15 says, "Go into the world and preach the gospel to all creation." There's your big chance. There you go as a witness to God and to the Lord Jesus Christ. Go and witness. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Don't be ashamed to be a Christian. If you're on a set, as an actor or as an actress, it's okay to be able to say, I'm a Christian and I can't do that scene, or I'm not going to cuss on that particular shot, or I'm leaving my clothes on, and of course you get a chance to prove script before you even offer the role. And you can say, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do that. And there's a lot of actors and actresses today, A-list actors and actresses that stand on their faith. They're not going to do any of that stuff. And don't let the devil tempt you that I really need the money, so I'm going to do this scene or I'm going to do that scene. You don't have to do that. You really, really don't. And this is kind of what I want to close with. As Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. It's all right here in the Bible, folks. It really is. And you can go through scriptures to find things that's just going to uplift you. Jesus spoke so many times to his disciples, ye of little faith, have faith, 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 faith. And that's what we can do with faith-based films, is have the faith, show the faith, demonstrate the faith, and provide the faith to our viewers. Don't you think so? Hey, it was just awesome to be able to do this program, and I hope other actors and actresses can provide their testimony as well. Until next time, this is Roy Lewis Garton from beautiful Cookeville, Tennessee, and I hope to see you all again soon. Have a wonderful, blessed day.